One of the presuppositions of neuro-linguistic programming or NLP is you cannot not communicate, which means there isn't a moment when you don't communicate. We human beings communicate all the time, especially when we are in the presence of another person. We may not use words all the time, but we keep communicating with our eyes, with our body, and with our facial expressions. Even when we sit silently in one corner of our room, we are communicating. That is why it is said, you cannot not communicate. However, what we need to understand is how we communicate most of the time, and does our communication help us to build relationships? There is absolutely no doubt that good communication skills determine not only success in life but also our happiness. Good communication skills help us to connect with others, whether in the family or in the business organizations. That is to say, communication is the lifeline of any relationship. On the other hand, poor communication skills are known to be one of the major roadblocks for our happiness. We are living in an era of astounding technological transformation, and we have been witnessing a revolution in information technology over the years. There is plenty of communication happening all the time from one end of the world to the other in fractions of seconds, and yet we know the world today is suffering from lack of communication. Perhaps not lack of communication, but lack of quality communication, which in turn has led to breakdown in relationships in families, in religious communities, and in the business organizations. Communication is basically sending a message across to another person or a group of people. It is a dynamic process through which we communicate to another a thought or a feeling or an idea, and how it is received by the receiver depends on how the sender communicates it. In the process of communication, an entire person is involved, namely our voice, the tone of our voice, the words we use, the gestures, the posture, and the body language. Therefore, just as what we say is important, how we say is equally important. We cannot take for granted the three important elements in the process of communication, namely the sender, the receiver, and the context in which we communicate a message. When one element is undermined, the outcome suffers. In this sense, we can say communication is a gauge by which two people measure one another's self-worth, and it is possible only in an environment of trust and respect to each other. Building rapport with the receiver is an important prerequisite for communicating a message to the other. This necessitates self-awareness, good eye contact, interest in the other person, and openness from the part of the sender, because the ultimate purpose of communication is relationship or intimacy. Although communication is an essential part of human interactions, yet this is where many struggle or fail to make a meaningful contact with others with whom they live and work, and this seems to be the major reason why there are conflicts in families and communities. Family therapist Virginia Satir highlights 5 different styles people adopt while interacting with others, such as blaming, placating, computing, distracting, and leveling. She opines that the first 4 are unhealthy styles which result in conflicts or unhappiness, whereas the 5th is an effective style that helps one to connect with others, leading to happiness. Blaming. Blaming seems to be a common stance that a good number of people adopt. The blamers are known for blaming and finding fault with others for everything instead of taking responsibility for the issues. The problem with the blamers is that they suffer from insecurity. Deep down their feeling is that no one loves them. And to cover up their feelings of alienation and loneliness, they point fingers at others, which automatically leads to conflict in the relationships. The second style is placating, which means pleasing others. The person who takes on this stance bends low like a beggar in front of the other and communicates to the other that she is willing to do anything what the other is demanding. She values others over herself and she feels she should not displease anyone. So much so, she is ready to apologize for the things she has not done. Her problem is that she needs the approval and acceptance of others all the time. In this style, conflict may be avoided, but the relationship is unhealthy. It is possible that the placater is taken advantage of by others as she fails to assert herself. In some families or communities, you may find one or the other person computing. The body of the one who is computing is always straight, stiff. The person who is computing is always logical, reasonable, correct, and super rational, like the computer, but he is not in touch with his own emotions. Inside, he seems to be a disturbed person, but outside, he appears calm as he doesn't want anyone to know how he is feeling inside. Distractor is another stance that some people take in their relationship with others when they are stressed or confused. The distractor looks for attention as she feels inadequate or lonely within. Unlike the computer, the distractor uses a range of emotions from anger to guilt in order to avoid an issue or to manipulate others and gets their attention. The fifth style is leveling, also called an assertive stance, which is considered an effective communication style that leads to healthy relationships in a family or in a community or in an organization. In this stance, both the sender and the receiver stand on the same level. Jesus adopted this stance while dealing with people during his earthly ministry. Some examples could be, Jesus tells Zacchaeus, "Zacchaeus, come down. I must come to your house today." Both Zacchaeus and Jesus stand on the same ground. Both are equal. Luke chapter 19 verses 1 to 10. Another beautiful example is Jesus and the Samaritan woman sitting across the well on the same level. Both are equal. John chapter 4 verses 5 to 26. Levelers enjoy good self-esteem and they are at home with themselves. They are emotionally mature and are in control of their emotions in their interactions with others. While communicating with others, their words, gestures, and facial expressions all match and communicate the same message. In other words, they say what they mean and they mean what they say, and the receiver understands what the sender means. Levelers are forthright in their communication with others and make a point to establish rapport before influencing people. As the new year has just begun, it is good to evaluate what kind of a communication style I use most of the time while interacting with other people. Remember, communication is connecting my heart to the heart of another, my mind to the mind of another in order to send a message across. And the goal of communication is always relationships or intimacy. Therefore, in 2021, learn to adopt a leveler style, which in turn will help you to strengthen your relationships and get what you want in life and be happy.